Welcome back to Let's Play Pokémon FireRed, and god, I'm getting tired of saying that. And we're only just a quarter of the way through. I still have like 20 other parts to record. But that's just the thing with Let's Playing Pokemon games or any other RPG game, it takes forever. And keep in mind, that's with the way I handle things without random battles and without most of the trainers. Can you just imagine if I wasn't doing that, how many hours this would take? Ugh, no thanks. Oh, and this is also where I give the TM of Brick Break to my Wartortle for no particular reason other than I need a fighting type move by the end of the game and I won't have Mankey by the end of the game anymore. I did a lot of planning for this playthrough, which Pokemon I wanted to use, where I can catch them and which moves I wanted them to have. What my final team is going to be, you'll be seeing that slowly as we go through the game. But what's on the agenda for today? Well, we're gonna have to move over to the next town, but there are a few things on our way, a few trainer routes and one other cave. And that cave is going to be Rock Tunnel, because I'm not spoiling anything, because if you look at the title it clearly says Part 8 Rock Tunnel. Gee, I wonder what we're gonna do today. But first some trainer battles. Not a whole lot, because I usually just try to show off trainers who have new Pokemon we haven't seen yet. So the further we go into the game, the more Pokemon we've already seen, so the less trainers I show off. And we're actually fighting this trainer, meaning he has a Pokemon we haven't seen before yet. And I actually had a list while playing this game to make sure I remember which Pokemon we have and haven't seen yet. Beedrill, the evolution of Kakuna, so the final evolution of Weedle. Still just a poison bug type. I mean, it has wings, so you would think it has a flying type now, but it already was poison and bug, so they can't add a third one to that. But whatever, early game bug type, I never really use any of this. Butterfree is better than Beedrill, and even Butterfree isn't that good, so I guess you could say that this Pokemon stinks. Puns. Get it? Because he's a bee and he has like stingers and I'm funny, damn it. But their usefulness aside, these guys were like the most dangerous motherfuckers in the anime. Like, they fought dragons, they fought sea monsters, but whenever a bunch of Beedrills popped up, no, then we always need to run away because comedy hijinks. I mean, understandably, because look at them, they have giant stingers for hands and they're huge and they're gonna fuck you up, but let's just look at its in-game stats. Ah! Beedrill! I could throw a Sandshrew at you and you would die. And I don't mean use a Sandshrew to fight a Beedrill, no, I mean literally throw the Sandshrew at it. But really, there's no reason to be afraid of— oh god, there should be in my room. No, get away. And okay, I'm back. And I just thought of something. I want there to be a mosquito Pokemon. And I want its signature move to be like an audio version of Mean Look. The move Mean Look, for those of you who don't know, is a move that when you use it on a Pokemon, that Pokemon won't be able to run away or switch out. So if there's ever a sound version of that, I want it to be the signature move of that mosquito, because that would perfectly replicate my experience with mosquitoes. Because I'm just lying in my bed, then I hear a mosquito and then I start looking for the fucker because I heard him, but now I can't fucking find him and I try to kill it and I don't give up killing it until it's dead. And did I mention that I fucking hate mosquitoes? Oh look, a bug trainer. I wonder if it's gonna use a bug type. Like a fucking mosquito. And it sends out a Caterpie. And why do you have a level 20 Caterpie? Caterpie evolves into a Metapod at level 7. That evolves into Butterfree at level 10. Why? It should have evolved like 10 times by now. Let's see, is there a reason to not evolve Caterpie? Well, in later generations it learns the move Bug Bite at level 15 and Butterfree never learns that move. And the move Bug Bite is okay, I guess, but I don't see a reason to keep your Caterpie a Caterpie just to learn that move. And besides, the Caterpie we saw just now is level 20 and it doesn't even learn Bug Bite in this generation. Now he has a level 20 Weedle, I think it's official. I hate this trainer. I mean, from a gameplay perspective, you have to press B in order to stop it from evolving. This kid is deliberately trying to keep his Weedle a Weedle for like no goddamn reason. You know, just like I'm harping on this subject for like no reason. Do we have any like new Pokemon we haven't seen yet to talk about? There we go. This is Venonat, a bug poison type, and it's kinda cute, I guess. Actually, because this thing looks kinda similar to Butterfree, people like to think that this one and Caterpie got their evolution switched around. Also because the evolution of Venonat also kinda looks like Caterpie, so it's a fairy. Actually, Pokemon has a lot of fan theories. I'll be explaining a bit more when they're relevant, but fan theories are always kind of a take it or leave it sort of thing. I mean, you should always treat it as just a theory. Like, a lot of people really hate fan theories because they know it's not the designer's true intention. But I think you should always just try to ignore if it was or wasn't. Just treat it as a fairy, and if you don't like it, ignore it, and if you do like it, have fun with it. There's one fan fairy we're actually sort of coming up to that a lot of people tend to hate, but I'll talk about it when it's relevant. In the meantime, oh, people, we're at Rock Tunnel. It's kinda like Mount Moon, just less interesting. And not even Mount Moon was very interesting, so that's a good sign, isn't it? No. Anyway, here's the gimmick about Rock Tunnel. Inside Rock Tunnel it is dark. All your vision is limited to this small little circle here, so you can't really see where you're going unless you have to move Flash with you. Using Flash here lights up the dark tunnel so you can see, well, pretty much all of it. So you don't need it to progress. You can go through Rock Tunnel without the HM for Flash, so it's not a mandatory HM, but going through Rock Tunnel without it is an absolute pain in the ass. Because you can't really see where you're going, you're gonna wander around a lot more, and wandering around means more steps, meaning more chances to trigger a random battle. And after a while, that gets really boring. So if you do have the HM for Flash, you can just get through it normally like any other cavern, so not much to complain about. But besides that, there's not a whole lot to do here. Mount Moon was your first cavern, and you got introduced to Team Rocket there, and there was a fossil at the end there. Here, there is none of that. It's just trainers and random battles and just sort of boring. But hey look, a Charmander, the other starter that neither we or a rival chose. I guess that's something worth pointing out, that Generation 1, so including its remake, is the only generation where random trainers actually use the starter Pokemon. In every other generation, you and your rivals are the only one who use starter Pokemon, and no other trainer has them. But as you can see, this trainer has a Charmander, some trainers use a Bulbasaur, and I think the route right before we got to Vermilion City actually has a trainer with a Squirtle. But oh look, another new Pokemon. This is a Cubone. It is wearing the skull of its dead mother. Not just this one. Every single Cubone has a dead mother and decides to wear its skull for some reason. Often seen as the most depressing Pokemon. Also a ground type. And this one also has a fan theory of being related to another Pokemon, but we have yet to see that Pokemon, so never mind. Man, this part is just all about the fan theories. I mean, I know I'm repeating myself here, but believe me, there are a lot of them. We now get to learn the move Rapid Spin, which I don't really care for, and we saw this move earlier with Misty. It has some minor benefits, but more so for very specific situations. Like I said before, it gets rid of Leech Seed and some other moves. So that's useful, but there are other moves I'd like to have. Oh, and Cubone's original name was Orphan, which is based off of Orphan, because, you know, dead mother. So, if you're an evolution of Cubone, which is called Marowak, if you're a Marowak and you have a child, does that mean you are destined to die? Like, just how does that work? How can an entire species always have dead mothers? Is it like biological, or is it the world's biggest coincidence? I should really stop trying to question video game logic. Especially Pokemon logic. Especially Generation 1 Pokemon logic. Hiker Trainer, they like to use ground types, they like to use rock types, and pretty much everything you can find in a cave. Geodude here, we've seen plenty of times already, but it's a rock ground type, and I think I've yet to explain anything about both the ground types and the rock types. I guess I'll start with the ground type. They are weak to grass, ice and water, resistant to poison and rock, and they are completely immune to electric. Rock types have a bit more resistances, but also a bit more weaknesses. For example, they are also weak to grass and water, which means that rock ground types, which there are a lot of, are 4 times weak to both water and grass. But they are also weak to fighting, ground and steel types, and they're resistant to fire, flying, normal and poison. Meanwhile, this Pokemon is Graveler, the evolution of Geodude, and it does have another evolution, but it only evolves by trading it with someone. Oh, look at that! I hit him with a critical hit move, yet it still survived with like 1 HP. The reason for that is because it probably has the ability Sturdy. That ability makes it that when a Pokemon is at full health, it cannot be killed with one move. Instead, it will always survive with 1 HP, which in this generation there's nothing telling you that that's what happened, that it's survived because of Sturdy. That's why at first I didn't know that Sturdy existed in Generation 3. I thought it was only added in later generations until someone pointed out to me like, no, I'm pretty sure that Sturdy existed in Generation 3, so I looked it up and it turns out she was right, it actually did exist here. I never realized it because I'm kind of used to Generation 5 where all the abilities have some sort of fancy animation whenever they take effect. I like that, but sadly it doesn't exist here. But even other abilities like static, it is pointed out whenever they do take effect in like the normal text box, but not sturdy for some reason. Oh, and here in the middle of Rock Tunnel for some reason, we find a move tutor who can teach us the move Rock Slide, which I gifted Doug the Transvestite. A rock type move with like a 30% chance of making a target flinch. Well, at least I think it's 30 and I'm too lazy to look it up right now. And like I said before, flinching only happens when your Pokemon is faster or when that move happens first. Diglett and its evolution is actually a surprisingly fast Pokemon, which is pretty rare for a ground type. Then again, it being fast also makes kinda sense because it's based off a Whack-A-Mole, and those are fast fuckers because I can never hit any of them. Diglett, trio, trio, trio. Diglett, trio, trio. Sorry, whenever I think of Diglett and Ducktrio, I think of that one moment from the anime where there are Diglets and Ducktrio just singing that for no reason. Oh, look at that, we kinda got through Rock Tunnel pretty fast, and now we are in the most depressing place in the Pokemon universe, Lavender Town. So let us start by doing the Lavender Dance. Wow, that was some serious mood whiplash. All throughout the game you get this normal and happy music, then you get the Lavender Town and you hear that. But the music here isn't exactly the only mood whiplash, because this is also home to the Pokémon Tower, which is the place where Pokémon go to die. It's a cemetery. Which, of course, death is a thing, but it's sort of weird that you don't really think about that Pokémon can die. They faint in battle, but you heal them and they're fine, but they can die. And then Lavender Town here is all about Poké Death. It's a depressing song for a depressing place, and it's also kind of one of my favorite songs in the game. I just really like the Lavender Town theme. Maybe also just because I hear it so often, because the Lavender Town theme is always used whenever you watch a video about Pokemon creepypastas. And if you don't know what a creepypasta is, it's pretty much the internet version of a ghost story, usually centered around video games or TV shows. But Pokemon has a number of those, and they're all centered around Lavender Town. But enough about that. Dipshit is here, and there's a number of things I need to bring up about him. But I think I'll start with the fan theory part, because he tells us here, he asks us what we're doing here if we don't have any dead Pokemon. Implying that he is here because he does have a dead Pokemon, and his Raticate is no longer in his party, even though he doesn't replace it with another Pokemon. He doesn't have a full party, so therefore it is usually theorized that we sort of killed his Raticate. And this is the fan theory I talked about earlier that a lot of people hate because, I mean, we know we didn't actually kill the Raticate, but a lot of people just hate people for thinking that, even though just treat it as a fan theory. It's just a theory and it's for fun and innocent fun, and even though it's not very innocent because it's about death. But anyway, if you like to think we killed his Raticate, go ahead. If you like to completely ignore that, go ahead. Can't we just all let each other be? But we're fighting in a fucking cemetery. This is wrong on so many levels. But whatever the reason may be, the Raticate is gone. But he has a few other additions to his party. But before that, Mascot reached level 26, so he gets to learn the move Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is an electric move that is pretty damn powerful. Also a 10% chance of inflicting paralysis on a Pokemon. I think it's also just pretty up there with powerful electric type moves. Pikachu does actually learn a better electric type move, but not until level 50, and I'm sorry, but I'm not waiting that long. But it's a new Pokemon. This is Gyarados. It's a water flying Pokemon, meaning it's 4 times weak to electric type attacks, but it's also the evolution of Magikarp. Remember Magikarp, that really dumb derpy looking Pokemon that doesn't learn any attacks other than Splash, Splash not doing any damage at all? That thing somehow evolved into this scary looking motherfucker. It's actually based off a myth, or sort of a fairy tale story I guess, about if carpers can swim up a certain waterfall, they will turn into dragons. I'm not entirely familiar with the details, but it's also just meant as a joke that pretty much the worst Pokemon turns into... damn. Oh, and Duck tries to learn Mud Slap. Mud Slap is pretty much a upgraded Sand Attack. Sand Attack lowered your evasion without doing any damage. This attack lowers your evasion with doing a little bit of damage. A very, very little bit. Oh, sorry, not evasion, I meant accuracy. It lowers accuracy. So this move is not meant as an attacking move, just as an evasion lowering move. Just with the benefit of also doing a little damage, even though it really wasn't meant for dealing damage. Now we are once again fighting as Ivysaur, and Ivysaur is green. I bring this up as a really bad segue to talk about the rival. Our player character is officially named Red after the game Pokémon Red. But if you remember from earlier, the first two Pokemon games in Japan were called Red and Green, where in America they were called Red and Blue. So the rival character, which for me will always be called Dipshit, he technically has two names. His Japanese name is Green and his American name is Blue. And his European name is Dipshit. Fuck you, Sleep Powder! I do not like this Ivysaur. Also, Dipshit never gives his Pokemon any nicknames. In fact, you never find a trainer who actually gives a nickname to their Pokemon. The player's the only one who ever gets to do so. I mean, it makes sense because if that's the first time seeing that Pokemon, you might get confused about what its actual name is. Then you might think that the nickname is the name of the species. But I find it kinda odd that nicknaming Pokemon is a thing in this universe, but never any trainers actually do so, except, again, the player. And there are trainers in different generations who give nicknames to their Pokemon, but you never actually get to fight those nicknamed Pokemon. Oh god, Kadabra! His Abra evolved and now it's here to fuck me up. All I can really do at this point is try to use Bite. Again. Luckily, that actually seems to do the job pretty well. Though I make sure not to use it twice in a row because I know this Kadabra still has Disable. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot, we already fought this thing. The Abra already evolved a long time ago before the SSN, so never mind, this is not the first time seeing this thing. I talked about Uri Geller, I remember now. But now something I was looking forward to bringing up about Dipshit for some reason, because he also has a Growlithe, which is a Fire-type Pokemon. Just as well as adding a Water-type Pokemon with the Gyarados. However, there is another Pokemon he can have at this point, and that is Execute. Execute is a Grass Psychic-type Pokemon. So, why doesn't he have that one? Because he already has a Grass-type Pokemon, and that is Ivysaur. Meaning that if, for example, we picked Charmander, he would have picked Squirtle, and then he would have had an Execute, but he already had a Water type, so he wouldn't have Gyarados. And then of course, if we picked Bulbasaur, he would have gone with Charmander, so he wouldn't have a Growlithe. So I think that's actually a pretty cool thing how they did that with him deciding his team depending on what your starter is, meaning what his starter is, and etc, etc. And I like that. But now we have defeated Dipshit, so we can continue on through the Pokemon Tower. However, we can't continue on through the Pokemon Tower. Why? Because this place is full of spooky ghosts. I'll explain that. If you go up here, you will get encounters with Ghost, which is not an actual Pokemon. It doesn't try to attack you, it just says get out. And your Pokemon scare themselves so shitless that they actually won't be able to fight this, so you can't really do anything here. I mean, if you want to, you can just keep going and ignore all those ghost things you run into. But at the end of the tower, there's actually a ghost that you have to defeat somehow, and we can't really do that as of right now, so we have to come back here later when we can. I'll walk around here for a bit so I can actually show off what the ghost looks like. And it looks like something that might as well be a Pokemon. Trees can be Pokemon, rocks can be Pokemon, and even ghosts can be Pokemon, but not this particular ghost. Which I'm gonna spoil a little bit here, but we later get an item that can reveal this ghost as ghost type Pokemon, which are just treated as any other Pokemon. So that's sort of supposed to be a reveal. However, you can see these trainers here, they actually use those ghost type Pokemon. Not this ghost sprite, but the actual ghost that this thing is supposed to reveal. So you can't fight this thing, but you can fight those trainers with those ghost Pokemon, even though there's actually the same Pokemon behind that hidden ghost sprite thing. So the game kinda ruins the point and shoots itself in the foot. But if I want to, I can fight those trainers and show off those Pokemon, but I'm gonna have to go back here eventually later, so might as well just leave right now and leave that for later. So that's all the time we have for today. Join me next time in part 9 of Let's Play Pokémon FireRed, and I see you then. I hope.